Jessie here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. For today's video, I have my weekly budget check-in. I'm going to be getting on here every single week to check in with my budget so you can see how I'm progressing throughout the month, if I'm sticking to my budget, if I'm going over. So yeah, it's just really good accountability for me, and you guys seem to really love budgeting videos, so it's a win-win. So for today, we are going to be checking in for week 1, which is January 1st through January 8th. It's a little bit extended just because of the way the paychecks fell and the weeks fell. Typically, my budget goes from Tuesday when we get paid to the following Monday, but because this is my first budget of the year and my first budget after a long budgeting hiatus, I lumped the first in there as well. So let's talk about everything I spent this week. I'm going to be referencing here off screen my expense tracker that I filled out with my channel members. So if you are interested in more details of where all of this money went, I go into complete detail about every single dime I spent throughout this first week in that members only expense tracking video. If you'd like to join my membership, you can see that video as well as all of the other fun members content for as little as $4.99 a month. You can just click the join button down below if you're interested in that. So I'm going to be referencing that page and filling in what I can of this monthly section here. So any one-time payments that were made will get put in here. And then we'll also be filling in this week 1 of the things that are ongoing. And I'll explain more about that as we go. I'm going to go ahead and get this flipped open. I'm going to zoom in a bit. And we're just going to get into it because these videos tend to be long. I tend to ramble. So yeah, it was a pretty expensive week overall. I spent a lot of money on groceries, a lot of money on spending. I mentioned to my channel members that some of these numbers are a little bit inflated from what they would typically be because while I've been setting money aside for sinking funds a little bit each week, I haven't yet sat down and figured out what exactly my funds are going to be, how I'm going to break things down, how much money is going to go into each fund. And so instead, I've just been sticking that money in an envelope, not touching it, and pulling money out of my regular budget to cover those things. So yeah, like we had my son's birthday this week, so some groceries that we bought to celebrate that birthday, which would typically come from like a celebration sinking fund, instead came from my grocery budget. So these numbers are high. They're a little bit higher than they would be on average. I may at the end of the month take some of the sinking fund money that would have gone towards those things anyway and reimburse myself. I haven't decided about that yet. We'll just kind of see where the numbers shake out by the end of the month. But we're going to go ahead and start out with the bills that I paid this week, starting with lot rent, which came out at $743 with 65 cents. So we are under budget there. I mentioned when I set this budget up with you all last week that I was planning on rounding up on a lot of these numbers just for a little bit of extra leeway. So if I just do some math here really quick, yeah. $56.35 under budget to be exact, which is nice. For subscriptions, this is something that's going to be ongoing throughout the month because I lumped a bunch of things together into this one line item. So each week we'll check in with how much I've spent from that. And then at the end of the month, I'll have my actual total, which I will put in here. So that's going to be the first thing that I track up here for subscriptions or for my weekly check-in. We'll get to that momentarily. For now, let's just keep going on down the list. My storage came out, my storage unit, and that amount was $92.70. So we are under budget there as well, which is great news. DTE still hasn't come out, but car insurance did, and this was actually a little bit over what I budgeted. So it's good that we were under budget in some of these other categories. Car insurance came out at $504.81. So not too far over, but over nonetheless. Typically I would write that in red. If I go over budget, I write in red, but I don't have a red pen in front of me and I'm too lazy to go get one, so that's okay. Our golf cart payment came out at $150, just as budgeted, and our camper came out at $200, just as budgeted. And the rest of these bills, as of now, are unpaid. They'll come out later on this month, but we can talk about some of our variable spending categories, which are the other things that we're going to track up here in this weekly section. So in addition to subscriptions, we are also going to track groceries, eating out, spending, miscellaneous, and the extra debt payments has its own section over here. So I will include that here with week 1, which I'll go ahead and fill in now since we're here. I put $200 to the card we are currently working on, which is a Discover card, which leads me to share with you my credit card that we're currently working on, which is a Discover card. I set this debt tracker up with my channel members in my debt confession video, where I talk all about the credit card debt that I have. I mentioned in that video to my members that I would be sharing this debt tracker with everyone. This is the first card that we're working on, the card with the lowest balance currently, and that amount is $6,000 that we're starting with this Discover card. There is other cards. If you're interested in knowing the full amount that I owe to credit cards, you can check out that video by becoming a channel member. But I did make a payment on January, what day was that? 2nd, January 2nd. That was a payment of $200, which brings my balance from $6,000 down to $5,800. I probably should have been able to do that math in my head. So $5,800 is what this card is currently sitting at. I've already colored in the little debt-free chart. I did that with my channel members as well. But this is the chart that I'm going to be using to keep track of the payments I make to this credit card. It is my goal, according to my budget here, to pay $1,000 to this credit card this month. So we are 1/5 of the way there. There are 5 weeks, or 5 paychecks rather, in the month of January. So if we can continue that trend of $200 each week, we'll hit that goal. But for now, we're not ready to fill that in. That'll be the end of the month. So that is that. Let's go here. So for subscriptions so far this month, which isn't really subscriptions at all if you watched my budget setup video, which if you haven't, you really should go back and watch that first. I told you guys that I was lumping a bunch of stuff in under the subscriptions heading that includes some subscriptions like Hulu and Netflix, but also some other things in my budget that aren't subscriptions at all, but they're just like things that come out on auto pay that I don't really need to think about. So yeah, that's what this category is. The amount that I've spent so far this month is $83.06. A lot of these like auto pay things come out right around the 1st of the month, so it makes sense that we've already gone through quite a bit of this budget. We have a budget of $250 total. We've spent $83.06, and that means that for the rest of the month we have $166.94 remaining towards that. For groceries, be prepared to gasp. I spent $503 this week. Some of that was for our typical weekly groceries, which I did film a grocery haul that you can check out. I'll link it in the corner here for you to check out if you're interested in knowing exactly what we spent for our regular week of groceries. This is also some meals for me at the office. This is also some celebrating we did for Robbie's birthday. So yeah, it was quite a hefty price tag there. I started out the week, or the month rather, with $1,500 in my grocery budget. And I remember when I wrote that number down thinking like, there's no way we'll spend that. And here we are already a quarter of the way through it in the first week. So maybe we will. $503.48 is what we spent. So that leaves us with $996.52 for the remainder of the month. Excuse me. Okay. For eating out this week, we did pretty well. We only spent $62.38. And I budgeted $500, which again, I said was an inflated number. I may end up having to use some of that to cover our extreme groceries. So much money out in groceries this week. Okay. So we still have $437.62 remaining, which is great news. For spending, again, this is kind of an inflated number because I did take some cash out to give to my sons for their birthdays, which would typically come out of sinking funds, but I haven't set up the sinking funds yet, so it is what it is. We spent $300.30, and I budgeted a total of $600. So we're already halfway through that budget in the first week. This is usually how it is though. My first week in the month is always my most expensive. And then as we go, each week I spend less and less, it seems, as I get closer to the end of my budget. I think that's just like normal human behavior. And then for miscellaneous, we had no spending. Hallelujah. And that leaves us with the full $200 remaining in our budget for miscellaneous expenses. So in terms of our variable spending, we spent $83.06 plus $503.48 plus $62.38 plus $330 for a total of $949.22. And what do we have remaining? $166.94. These numbers don't really matter other than it's just fun to see a total. Plus, if I go over in one category but I'm under in another and the balances still total out and I'm not over budget overall, I won't be too upset. So that's the other reason why I get these numbers. We still have $2,100 with 78 cents remaining, provided I didn't fat finger my calculator and mess up somewhere, which is very possible, but close enough. All right, friends, that is it then for my budget check-in. I'm going to zoom you out. Keep going, keep going. That's where we stand at the end of the first week. We've got a lot of our bills already paid and taken care of. There are some things, some bills and things that I don't include in my budget just for privacy's sake. So if you're looking at this budget and you're wondering like, hey, where's this? I don't see this on your budget. Just know that I didn't forget about it. I just probably left it off intentionally for the sake of privacy. There's only so much I can share with my YouTube channel. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's it. Feel like we're in good shape other than I need to be careful about this grocery budget. Because here I was when I started the month at $1,500 thinking, oh yeah, we can come in under that. And now I'm not so sure. Let me know, has your grocery bill skyrocketed? I feel like everyone's has, but then I see some people posting like their budgets and their grocery hauls and they're like families of 6 and they're feeding them for $150 a week. And I just don't know how they do that, but something for me to keep in mind moving forward. I'm rambling now, so I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this budget check-in. If you did, give it a thumbs up. You can click the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet, so that my videos will show up in your subscription feed. You don't have to go searching for them. That's completely free, by the way. And I do also have bonus content available for my channel members if you're interested in that as well. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.